Or in the Hamptons, which is a staple of New York socialites that you haven't yet seen. And, you know, we all kind of dated each other, so we have to date more people or each other's parents. And
dead to you, why are you at the wake? Cursing my name.
Some people were shocked when Blake Lively's feud with Justin Baldoni erupted, acting as if her sudden shift into mean girl energy came out of nowhere. But anyone who has paid attention to her Hollywood history knows the story didn't begin with a courtroom or a PR meltdown. It stretches all the way back to her earliest days on set, long before the red carpets, the lifestyle branding, and the carefully curated perfect girl next door persona. In a resurfaced piece of behind-the-scenes gossip, Blake's former co-star America Ferrera reportedly described tense moments during the filming of Sisterhood of the Traveling Pants in 2005. The whispers describe Blake as confident to the point of sharpness, occasionally crossing lines that left castmates uncomfortable. These weren't the glamorous Hollywood headlines Blake would later become known for. These were the quiet, unpolished glimpses of a young actress still learning how to balance ambition, ego, and the pressure of a rising career. Placed against the backdrop of her current legal war with Justin Baldoni, those early stories suddenly feel like puzzle pieces that were hiding in plain sight. The public is revisiting Blake's early on-set dynamics with new eyes, peeling away the glossy Instagram finish that once defined her brand. The more observers dig, the more they find a pattern that stretches across years. Moments of controlling behavior, whispers of behind-the-scenes manipulation, and a habit of projecting authority in ways that didn't always land kindly. Hollywood may love a polished fairy tale, but it also remembers everything. And now that Blake is under an unforgiving spotlight, the past is being re-examined with the same intensity as the present. What once looked like harmless confidence now seems to some like the early chapters of a much larger story.
makes perfect sense that the girls that are so different are such good friends. I'm very different than a lot of my friends. But I just think that, you know, as long as you guys support each other and think highly of the person, and I try to surround myself with people that I want to be more like, that I see qualities in them that I'm like, they're a really great person. I want to be around them more because I would love.
An old interview of Blake Lively sitting beside America Ferrera has suddenly resurfaced, and the internet is doing what it does best, zooming in, analyzing every blink, and turning a forgotten press moment into a full-blown character study. In the clip, Blake is all sunshine and sparkle, jumping into every question with rehearsed enthusiasm, eager to make an impression. America, on the other hand, sits beside her with the energy of someone forced into overtime, drifting in and out of the conversation and offering the occasional eye roll that feels impossible to ignore when viewed today. What makes the moment fascinating is the timing. The interview came shortly after the pair wrapped filming Sisterhood of the Traveling Pants, a movie fans always assumed had a warm and harmonious set. But now, with Blake's recent controversies dragging her old behavior back into the spotlight, viewers are treating this clip like a piece of hidden evidence. The more people rewatch it, the more they wonder if there was tension simmering beneath the surface even then, long before the polished red carpets, long before the legal headlines, long before Blake's public image began to crack under pressure.
Sisterhood of the Traveling Pants 2 stars America Ferrera and Blake Lively stop by Good Day LA, and the conversation quickly turned to Gossip Girl, like all conversations do now. That's when Miss Ferrera and I forged our own Sisterhood of the Traveling contempt for Gossip Girl.
If you haven't seen Gossip Girl, just about everything has happened. Unbelievable.
No, you'd be surprised how much hasn't happened. You know, at the end of the first season, I was like, okay, well, what happens now? But we have a few more characters already in the beginning of the first season that come in and mess up our lives even more. We start in the Hamptons, which is a staple of New York socialites that you haven't yet seen. And, you know, we all kind of dated each other, so we have to date more people or each other's parents. And I don't know.
Come on! Wow. Let the clip run. She strangles her. We'll be right back after this dirty mouth moment.
On screen, the cast of Sisterhood of the Traveling Pants looked like the definition of wholesome friendship, but the fictionalized accounts circulating online paint a very different picture. According to these retellings, the cheerful sisterhood dissolved the moment the cameras stopped rolling. The rumors depict Blake Lively as a rising star who carried herself with an edge of superiority, casually asserting control over the set while America Ferrera quietly weathered the tension. In these dramatized versions of events, Blake's humor often crossed into personal territory, leaving America to navigate comments that felt far more cutting than playful. These retellings go further, describing Blake as someone who, at that stage in her career, preferred to shape the social landscape of the cast. In the heightened, exaggerated way these stories circulate, she is portrayed as redirecting group dynamics, influencing alliances, and leaving America increasingly isolated. What makes these fictionalized accounts so striking is the suggestion that America did little to spark conflict. She simply found herself on the wrong side of Blake's attention. Over time, according to these dramatic interpretations, the atmosphere on set became less like a sisterhood and more like an endurance test. The pattern doesn't stop there in the narrative world built around Blake's Hollywood myth. Gossip swirling around Gossip Girl often gets pulled into the same storyline, with some fans crafting tales of tension between Blake and Penn Badgley. In these embellished versions, Penn arrived expecting professionalism, only to find himself battling invisible headwinds. Rumor enthusiasts claim Blake subtly shaped opinions about Penn, nudging cast members to view him through a critical lens. And because she was quickly becoming a media favorite, the entertainment press supposedly echoed whatever tone she set, amplifying speculation and complicating Penn's early career. Years later, these dramatized rumors are being lined up beside Blake's fictionalized conflict with Justin Baldoni. Online storytellers draw comparisons to past patterns, insisting that Justin entered the project with optimism, only to face an uphill climb reminiscent of earlier tales. According to the more theatrical interpretations of their dynamic, Blake and Justin operated on parallel tracks, two co-stars promoting the same film while seemingly existing in different worlds. Some claim Blake quietly chipped away at Justin's authority by inserting herself into creative decisions, even inviting outside voices into the process while keeping Justin in the dark. These stories, while dramatic, reflect the exaggerated tone audiences have come to expect from Hollywood rumor cycles. Across all these narratives, whether centered on America, Penn, or Justin, the through line remains the same. The fictionalized Blake Lively is depicted as a figure who prefers control, influence, and strategic alliances, a character crafted from years of internet speculation and dramatized storytelling. In this retold version of her career, she maneuvers through each project with calculated precision, shaping perception while keeping her public persona polished and untouchable. When viewed as a series of exaggerated fables, rather than literal events, the storyline becomes strangely compelling. It reads like the arc of a television anti-hero, glamorous on the outside, complicated underneath, and surrounded by a trail of strained partnerships. Whether these tales reflect truth or simply the imagination of a drama-hungry public, one thing is certain. The mythology around Blake continues to grow, fueled by every resurfaced clip, every whisper from the past, and every new controversy that pushes her name back into the spotlight.
So I'm hoping to see you back in the double duty role.
I think there are better people for that one.
Justin.
I think Blake Lively's ready to direct. That's what I think.
Ooh.
So, yeah.
Justin said he doesn't know if he'd be game to direct the next one, but perhaps Blake would. Is that something that you would entertain?
Oh, absolutely. I think that whoever decides to take charge of the next one would do it justice. But, it's a lot of people to get the same schedules together again, so we'll see.
Oh, absolutely. She's so capable of that. She is a powerhouse. She could do.
In the ever-growing mythology surrounding Blake Lively and Justin Baldoni's behind-the-scenes feud, the press tour has become one of the most hotly debated chapters. In these dramatized retellings, Justin is said to have quietly discovered that Ryan Reynolds had dipped into the creative process, even contributing to the now infamous rooftop scene. The rumors paint this revelation as the first crack in an already fragile dynamic. From there, the narrative only grows more theatrical, describing Blake as the star who seized control of every publicity moment, sweeping onto red carpets and into interviews as if she were the film's director rather than its lead. According to these embellished accounts, Justin and his team are pushed to the fringes, sometimes literally. Whispered stories claim they were shuffled into lower floors or separate rooms during press events, creating the impression that the film was running two parallel campaigns. Blake's spotlight tour above, and Justin's quiet, overlooked, shadowed tour below. The more dramatic versions of the story make Blake out to be the undeniable center of gravity, with Justin forced to orbit at a distance. Online commentators have added more fuel to the fire by comparing Blake's statements about discomfort around Justin to footage that appears in the edited storytelling of fan compilations to tell a different story entirely. These fan-made narratives reinterpret body language, glances, and offhand moments as signs of simmering tension, or even unspoken infatuation. In this fictionalized world, Blake is recast as someone who expected a private spark that never materialized, and when it didn't, her disappointment allegedly morphed into conflict, echoing dramatic tales often associated with her past relationships. The folklore doesn't stop with Justin. Penn Badgley is frequently written into the same storyline, with online retellings weaving years-old gossip into a version of events where Blake struggled to maintain balance between personal drama and professional expectations. These narratives depict her as someone who bristled when circumstances slipped out of her control, leading to stormy days on the Gossip Girl set. From there, the internet's imagination shifts to Blake's tense dynamic with Leighton Meester. Fans have long dissected their interviews, treating every awkward laugh, stiff smile, or clipped sentence as coded evidence of deeper strain. When Gossip Girl's executive producer Joshua Safran once remarked that Blake and Leighton were polite colleagues, not close friends, the comment instantly became part of the mythology. In the more dramatic retellings, Blake's bold, spontaneous nature collided with Leighton's quiet reserve, creating friction that surfaced during press tours. Viewers point to old interview clips where Blake's jokes landed poorly, sparking debates about whether she was simply playful or subtly needling her co-star for the cameras. All these threads, rumored favoritism, whispered snubs, awkward press moments, and clashing personalities have been woven together into a single sweeping narrative that shadow boxes against Blake's public image. The fictionalized version of her career depicts a performer who commands attention so intensely that it overwhelms those around her, leaving co-stars unsettled or sidelined as she strides forward with polished confidence. Whether these stories hold any truth or are simply the internet's penchant for turning small moments into sprawling sagas, they now form a compelling part of the Blake Lively lore. In the grand dramatized retelling, she becomes a figure of contradictions, adored on screen, enigmatic off-screen, and perpetually surrounded by the kind of tension that Hollywood storytellers and fans love to magnify.
Monkey with coordinating outfits, and I was like, I would love to be part of the show, but I can't act with a monkey. And then I got a few of them.
Behind the glossy exterior of the promotional tour, the real drama, at least in the fictionalized world built by online observers, was supposedly far more chaotic. Rumor-filled accounts describe a set divided into factions, with cast members quietly navigating an atmosphere where choosing the wrong ally could make their workdays far more difficult. In these dramatized retellings, Blake Lively is portrayed as someone whose confidence sometimes veered into insensitivity, brushing off concerns with the breezy claim that everyone else was simply too serious or too easily offended. These stories often point to her public appearances as examples of her supposed inability to read the emotional tone of the moment. In the exaggerated narratives passed around on fan forums, Blake's reactions during interviews are dissected frame by frame, with critics claiming she often missed the gravity of what was being discussed. The mythology around the It Ends With Us press tour has become a central example, with commentators reimagining her demeanor as mismatched to the film's subject matter, a story rooted in trauma and domestic violence. The retellings paint her as someone treating the project with the breeziness of a romantic comedy, creating an uncomfortable contrast for colleagues who approached the material with solemnity. These dramatized accounts have only added more fuel to the online saga surrounding Blake, reinforcing a fictional persona built on contradictions. To her admirers, she remains polished and charismatic. To her critics, she becomes a character who too often misjudges tone and leaves tension in her wake. And as the story continues to grow in the digital echo chamber, the line between reality and retold rumor becomes harder to separate, further shaping the complex mythology that surrounds her public image.